Okay, so we're going to quickly kind of just do a rundown of what's coming up for this week, and then I'm going to go into methods of persuasion, and we're going to talk about the different sorts of like ways that creators, writers, and directors, uh, and influencers actually like persuade people to believe or even consider certain ideas. So Monday, you're going to watch Dark Legacy. I have the film linked into the folder. It does contain explicit footage of JFK's assassination, so if you need to watch a different film, if that's too serious for you, let me know and I can find something a little less like explicit. Um, so while you're watching the film, keep notes and identify the different types of evidence and types of logic used. And even if you don't have like a specific name for the type of evidence that's being used or the type of logic, like just like find some way to like write it down and kind of like think about it, right? And make that note and start the work of like, okay, why is this evidence or why is this a type of logic and like how is it being used to persuade? And so also on Monday, you'll have SWA4, right? You're going to write 250 words and include two sources making an argument about a specific text or idea. Um, See the handout for detailed instructions, and the handout is also in the folder. It's basically exactly what you guys have been doing, but yeah, take a look at the handout first. So Wednesday, you're going to examine the types of logic and evidence used in Dark Legacy. So you're going to continue thinking about that and design a thought web or another graphic that explains the types of logic and evidence used in that film. And then what I want you to do is take a picture of the thought web or whatever sort of like visual mapping you do of that kinds of that logic and evidence and how they're working together and kind of overlapping and submit it through course messages. Um, and then again, if you contacted me about using a different film, just like remind me in your message that we had that conversation and you were examining a different film, so I don't like forget and grade you as if you haven't done your assignment correctly. So then on Friday, you're gonna write or you're gonna read Writing Today chapter 4, and then I want you to write a 300 word or more journal explaining what you want to do with project 2. So by this point, hopefully you've spent enough time thinking and tinkering that you kind of have some sort of like vision in your head of what you want to write about and where you want to go with that topic, right? So in your journal entry, try to think about like what parts of this project do you anticipate ahead of time might be kind of difficult, and what are the things you're looking forward to, um, and yeah, like what is interesting you and kind of like daunting you with the project. And the same day, you'll also need to go back and respond to classmates. So let's go back up to methods of persuasion, and I'm actually just gonna bring up a Word document really quick, and we'll just like write out some of these things. Um, so methods of persuasion, right? Already, a lot of you have been like based off the reading, been talking about ethos, pathos, and logos, right? Um, Ethos is authority or credibility. So when you're using ethos, basically that's when you say, I have a PhD in astrophysics, and that's why you should believe me when I say XYZ, right? And that's the same reason that um, in a lot of these conspiracies and sorts of like conspiracy oriented things, you'll see them constantly saying like, um, this expert over here, and this is his name, and this is the university, and this is the number of years he's worked on this type of science, right? That person says XYZ. And that's why we're correct, because this person who has authority, right, because of their training, because of their degree, because of their position, because of their experiences, whatever it is, that is a type of logic and a type of evidence that's used to support certain ideas. Okay. And that's like what's really funny, what many of you have mentioned in your analysis of different advertisements, that you have someone, like Justin Timberlake, you know, like promoting like a car, and like probably he doesn't know that much about cars at all, but like the sheer like weight of celebrity becomes a type of credibility in and of itself, even though it has no logical ties to anything. And it doesn't like celebrities are probably experts on being celebrities, and they're probably experts on whatever it is that brought them to celebrity, but that kind of weight is then applied to like everything from like diapers to cars to climate change. You have Leonardo DiCaprio running around speaking to various governments about climate change. Um, he doesn't know anything about that. like, um, so right, that's how ethos works, right? It doesn't always work in a way that makes sense, but you just think about like who is this person and what is giving them the authority or the credibility to speak on this issue. Pathos is emotion, and what we see, and especially in a lot of the ads that you guys chose, are emotion that is focusing on humor, right, and excitement. So we'll see that a lot in ads. We'll see them like funny ads, right, that like engage us through the use of humor and through sort of like making us think about things a little bit longer than we would otherwise because of the humorousness there. Excitement, sadness, right? The in like invariably there's going to be a commercial on at some point today with like a starving puppy and like Sarah McLachlan in the background crying and like like we're going to have these uh, really extended, often black and white images with rain and like gutters and stuff of like starving animals, and they're like that's pathos. That's they're literally trying to make you sad and sad enough that you will then give your money to that institution or that organization, feeling like that like the money that you're giving to them is going to stop this situation where these puppies are in the gutter, in the rain. Yeah. So and like sometimes it works. So uh so keep an eye on emotion and the way that like colors and sounds and even pacing affects your emotion, right? So they're not going to have lots of like very fast cut scenes in these sad puppy commercials. It's going to be a long, drawn out scene that makes us really like linger on this like terrible image of a starving animal in the gutter, right? Um, versus like something for like I don't know, like a cologne commercial often will have a lot of very quick pacing, a lot of cut scenes because it's supposed to make you excited rather than sad. So then logos is just logic and reasoning. So anytime you see logos, right, what you're actually seeing is like an appeal to logic, right? So if they start throwing numbers at you, if they're like, oh, X number of Americans believe in blah blah blah, and that's why this, or like this percentage of people is affected in such and such way, or right, 10,000 starving puppies are in the gutter right now, like all of those are numbers that are thrown at you to kind of like make you feel a specific way and to like prove to you that what they're saying is important. And they've done the research, they know what they're talking about, and they can bring up the science aspects of it to like make you feel a certain way and take a certain course, right? Yeah, and like often, I mean, often logos is one of the hardest sorts of logic to use because you have to know what you're talking about and you have to do it right. Like you have to actually use numbers and use logic and use kind of like you can't just like show happy, sad, whatever imagery and use lots of dark colors or lots of bright colors. Like there's some research that goes into that. Okay, so the other types of evidence that I want to have you guys thinking about though is the types of evidence that you'll see um, in various types of documents, right? So we'll have like an eyewitness account. I don't know if it's like has a hyphen or not. So eyewitness accounts, right? This is something that's still used in court cases. So like to this day is like the the mere fact that someone saw something or other happen is a type of evidence, even though, like we know that people misperceive things all the time and that they lie in court and all kinds of crazy stuff happens, but this is considered like a real type of evidence. Like pictures, right? Every time somebody starts talking about Loch Ness or Bigfoot, they will like pull out those pictures and say, "Look, this can't be explained by scientists, and here's the picture, and this is what you're looking at." right? And like pictures, videos, stuff like that. What other types of evidence is there? There's like forensic types of evidence, right? And often enough, forensic evidence will be actually used to uphold an eyewitness account or will uphold or debunk an eyewitness account or a picture or video, right? So they'll say this forensic, like using science and technology and researching, blah, 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 right? We're going to go in and show that there is no way that this thing that was moving at XYZ speed was actually a UFO, and this is why, and they'll unroll all this like forensic sorts of evidence, right? Um, right, statistics, right? That'll be in the form of what you'll see is this like huge data dumps on a certain issue, right? So again, like I was saying earlier, a lot of like logos will be in the form of statistics. This is kind of like 225,000 of Americans forgot to brush their teeth today, and that's a statistical piece of evidence that will then be used to like I don't know support the use of some like magical toothbrush that does the work for you or something like, right? Um, these is all kinds of stuff that we encounter every single day and that we're very used to encountering and processing without really like thinking about it a whole lot. Like we're so used to eyewitness accounts and pictures and statistics and all this stuff that we don't really think about it. When we encounter it, we just know that it is exerting some sort of like persuasive pressure on us. And like a lot of these types of evidence overlap. Um, I also want to add some different types of like rhetorical ploys or rhetorical moves that you can take. So a concession is a big one, right? And I'll show you. Well, like a concession is to say like, okay, we can't prove that Justin Bieber is a reptilian alien, but there's good reason to believe that he might be, right? So oftentimes not taking that like that really hard line of saying like, okay, Justin Bieber absolutely is 110% an alien, and this is why, because you're going to have pushback. You can take kind of like like an angled sort of sideways approach to things and make a concession to your opposition or to like the argument that you already know is coming, right? You know that like broadly people don't think Justin Bieber is an alien. Broadly, people are going to be slightly averse to the idea and they're going to say that it's irrational. So you can say like, okay, it's impossible to prove for sure, but here's why you should consider it, right? And that's a way to start a conversation that kind of sidesteps a lot of the opposition that is immediately already going to be coming your way. So keep an eye out for concessions. And let me bring this thing up. Nope, here we go. This is a whole page on uh, reptile conspiracy theories. Let me move this thing over. Can I move it over? There you go. Okay. Um, Here's Justin Bieber, right? Apparently there was a video at some point that said that he had reptilian eyeballs or something like that, or that that he also apparently like transformed into a reptile at some point in a public place, in an airport. Anyway, it's all nonsense, right? But here's what we see as this is a pretty tricky concession right here, right? So they give us this stuff, right? And they're actually like predicting that you're gonna watch this video and be like, maybe not, right? They say check it out for yourselves, right? Which implies that we get to make up our own mind. We're gonna watch it, and then they immediately pick the conversation up with like us saying like, I don't know, guys, with like still this isn't the only evidence that leads some to think that Justin Bieber is a reptile, right? So they're conceding right there that that's not actually like definitive proof at all, and that um, we're experiencing some hesitation about this. Yeah, so think about concessions, and I'm running out of time on this video. I think we've covered most of the stuff we need to cover, but think about concessions, especially when you're talking about conspiracy theories and like really big ideas that you anticipate some pushback. Like, how do you deal with the pushback or the antagonism, the opposition to your idea um, beforehand? How do you embed that push like inside of your piece? So, okay. Email me if you have questions and have a good week.